Jeffrey Epstein's name is synonymous with secrets, power, and unanswered questions. So when Kash Patel was pressed under oath to reveal whether Epstein trafficked young women to anyone else, his answer shocked the room. Patel said there is no credible information tying Epstein's victims to anyone but Epstein himself. But does that really close the book? Or does it raise even more questions about who's being protected?
I want to ask you about the Epstein files. Have you seen the Epstein files?
I have not reviewed the entirety of it myself, but a good amount.
Okay. Would it be fair to say that Mr. Epstein trafficked young women, including, in some instances, minors, for sex to himself?
That was specifically the allegations in the 2018 indictment in the Southern District of New York.
Okay. Who else did he traffic these young women to?
In terms of what the investigation, again, going back to 2008, Mr. Acosta, who limited the investigation and limited the search warrants and limited the parameters of the investigation, the only thing we are able to speak to publicly, because he was given a non-prosecution agreement by Mr. Acosta, is that first time period from, I believe, don't quote me on this, 97 to 2001-ish. And then when the Trump administration courageously reopened it.
Excuse me for interrupting, but I'm going to run out of time. You've seen most of the files. Who, if anyone, did Epstein traffic these young women to besides himself?
Himself. There is no credible information. None. If there were, I would bring the case yesterday that he trafficked to other individuals. And the information we have, again, is limited.
So the answer is no one?
For the information that we have.
In the files?
In the case file.
Okay. Now, President Trump has deferred to the FBI and the Department of Justice with respect to the Epstein records. He says it is your call about releasing them. And I understand that the department and the agency have decided to release them in cooperation with the House committee. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So you're releasing them a little bit at a time. Is that correct?
We're releasing as much as we can, but we are limited by 3 different court orders, and the department went back to each of those judges to waive those court orders or have them lifted, and each of those judges declined.
Will you release all of them, or at least as many as you can?
We will release everything we are legally permitted to do so. We are continuing to work with the House on the subpoena request. We have substantially complied with it, but we will continue to release whatever we are legally permitted to do so.
Okay. I strongly encourage you to do that. Kash, this issue is not going to go away. And I think the central question for the American people is this. They know that Epstein trafficked young women for sex to himself. They want to know who, if anyone else, he trafficked these young women to. And that's a very fair question. I want to know that answer. And I think you're going to have to do more to satisfy the American people's understandable curiosity in that regard.
Mr. Chairman, may I just respond to that? I agree, Senator. And what we have done, and just to remind folks, the Epstein case files existed in the 2 prior administrations, in the Obama administration and the Biden administration, and they didn't release anything. And there was President Trump in the first administration that renewed charges against Mr. Epstein. And I know it's a little complicated to understand, but what exists in the Epstein case files was a direct result of the limited search warrants from 2006 and 7, which hamstrung future investigations because of the non-prosecution agreement. And multiple administrations had the opportunity to look at the entirety of that case file and recommend prosecutions against anyone that was trafficked under Mr. Epstein and anyone that participated in that trafficking. And the only person to bring charges was the prior administration against Mr. Epstein. Now, I am not saying that others were not trafficked and others were not involved. What I am telling you is that based on the information we have, and we have continuously and publicly asked for the public to come forward with more information. If there is, we'll look at it. But based on credible information, we have released all credible information, and the information that the Department of Justice and the FBI never releases is information on investigations that are not credible. And we don't release the names of victims who weren't credible. But in the same time, we don't release the names of victims who were credible. And so that's by law. And so the information we are releasing now is historic, and it is also to the maximum capacity that the law allows. And I know that's not going to satisfy many, many, many people. But if they wanted it done right, then the investigation from its origination should have been done right, and he should not have been given a get-out-of-jail-free card to do jail on the weekends for 12 hours a day, and he should have been investigated fully for the entirety of his crime and criminal enterprise, not just from 1997 to 2001.
Senator Blumenthal.
Thank you, Mr. Patel.
When Kash Patel was asked about Jeffrey Epstein's case files, the room grew tense, not because of what was said, but because of what wasn't. Senator after senator pressed Patel with the same question millions of Americans have. If Epstein was a trafficker, who else was he trafficking these young women to? Patel's answer was blunt. He said there is no credible information that Epstein trafficked anyone to others besides himself. And that's a stunning statement, because for years, Epstein's story has hung in the public imagination, not just as a scandal, but as a suspected network, a web of powerful names and secret deals. To say that the official files only show Epstein himself is to collapse that entire theory into something far smaller. But here's where things get complicated. Patel points to history. He reminds the committee that back in 2006 and 2007, under Alex Acosta, Epstein was handed a non-prosecution agreement so limited that it effectively shielded many avenues of inquiry. The warrants were narrow, the time frame was short, and the case was boxed in from the start. That means by the time later administrations looked at the files, investigators were already handcuffed. Patel insists that multiple administrations, Obama's, Biden's, could have reopened broader prosecutions, but didn't. And it wasn't until Trump's administration that charges were renewed against Epstein. Now, whether you see that as a defense of Patel or as a convenient way to shift blame, it tells us one thing clearly. The roots of this scandal go much deeper than a single director or a single administration. Decisions made nearly 20 years ago still shape what can and cannot be proven today. Still, Patel's testimony leaves a glaring hole. He says there's no credible information in the files about Epstein trafficking others, but that doesn't necessarily mean it didn't happen. It just means the evidence isn't in the official record. He admits the FBI has asked for the public to come forward, and he doesn't deny that others may have been involved. He only sticks to what the files allow him to say, and that distinction matters, because to the public, no credible information sounds like nothing happened. But in law enforcement language, it often just means we don't have what we need to bring a case, and that's why so many people remain unsatisfied. For the American public, this isn't just about Epstein as an individual predator. It's about who enabled him, who benefited from him, and who else might have been part of the machinery. When Patel says the FBI is releasing files only as legally permitted, and when he emphasizes that judges have blocked the release of certain records, it deepens the frustration, because secrecy, whether justified by law or not, always fuels suspicion. This moment also shows the tension between law and politics. Senators want accountability and answers for the public. Patel wants to avoid overstepping legal limits and creating new liabilities. The clash between those two priorities leaves viewers with the sense that we may never get the full truth. And maybe that's the real tragedy of the Epstein saga. It isn't just the crimes themselves. It's the feeling that accountability was carved up and negotiated away long before today's hearings. Decisions made in the mid-2000s left cracks in the foundation so wide that even now, decades later, the system struggles to close them. So when Patel says Epstein trafficked to himself and no one else, you can almost hear the disbelief in the room. Because the American people don't just want legal precision, they want moral clarity. They want to know who else was involved. And unless more evidence comes forward, that answer may never be fully known. If you found this breakdown helpful and want more deep dives into the hearings and testimonies shaping our politics, make sure to hit subscribe, like the video, and share your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Patel is being fully transparent, or is this another example of the system protecting the powerful?